Good afternoon. Welcome to today's English session. Today is 15th of December 2020. We're Tuesday. Last session we were studying the participles and the participial phrase, using them as adjective in a sentence. Today we are going to study the differentiation between the participle adjective, the present participle adjective and the past participle adjective, how to use them, the difference between them two. Just listen to these two examples and think about the difference between them. When I say that I was bored in the session, and I was boring in the session, what's the difference between them? Actually, there is a big difference between them, and we are going to describe this difference within this session. Read those three sentences, please. I was really bored during the flight. You were in a plane traveling to somewhere and you were bored during the flight. This means that you were the one who caused this feeling, or the flight was the thing that caused this feeling. Of course, the flight was the thing that caused you this feeling. Maybe it was so long, maybe there was nothing to do with it during the flight. So this means that you are describing by bored here, you are describing your feeling that you were bored. And who calls you this boring? It was the flight. So the flight was the thing who caused you this feeling. So I can describe the flight that the flight was boring. The flight was boring and I was bored. So you cannot say I was really boring during the flight, because this means that they are the one who caused this feeling. And the second one, she is interested in history. She is interested in history. We use the ed here because you are describing her feeling that she is interested. By what? By the history. And this means that the history was interesting. The history was interesting. This means that the history is the thing that caused this feeling, caused her the feeling of to be interested. So you cannot say she is really interesting in history, because this means that she's the one who was doing the action, the one who caused this feeling. Joan is frightened of spiders. Joan is frightened with spiders. Now, Joan frightened here describing John's feeling that he was frightened of the spider. Who caused this feeling? The spider. The spider caused the feeling of frightening. So the spiders were frightening. You cannot say Joan is frightening, because this means that Joan is the one who caused this feeling. This means that Joan is the one who was running after the spider, not the spider running after him. So generally, we use the past participle ending in ed to talk about how someone feels. If you want to speak about someone feel, look at those examples. It was such a long, boring flight. It was such a long, boring flight. So here I'm using the same adjective, by the way, but to describe something that caused this feeling. Now the flight was the cause, so it's a boring flight. So I was bored because the flight caused me this feeling. I read a really interesting book about history. I read a really interesting book about history. So whose thing caused the feeling? The book. So the book is interesting. What about me? I was interested. My feeling when I read the book, my feeling that I am interested. Many people find the spiders frightening. Many people find the spiders frightening. Now, who is the spider is the thing that caused this frightening. The spider is the thing that caused the feeling of frightening. So the spiders are frightening. Why? Because they make the people frightened. So the people are frightened from the spider, or because of the spiders. So we usually use the present participle that end in ing to talk about the person, thing, or situation which has caused the feeling. Okay. So be careful. I am boring is very different from I am bored. Yeah, this is me. I am boring means I cause other people to be bored, and this is not good, of course, and this is not me too. Okay, so now let's have an exercise. Let's act as if you are answering, and after a minute I will give the answers. You choose the correct adjective. My nephew was amused or amusing by the clown. Think about, am I describing a feeling or I'm describing something that caused the feeling? Yes, that's right. My nephew was amused by the clown. This means that the clown was amusing. It's so frustrated or frustrating. No matter how much I study, I can't seem to remember this vocabulary. It's so, yeah, that's right. It's so frustrating. I'm describing now things that cause the feeling of frustration. So this means that I am frustrated. This lesson is so bored or boring. Yes, this lesson is so boring. This lesson is so boring. This means that you are bored. The lesson caused you the feeling, but it is the thing that caused this feeling. I'm feeling depressed or depressing, so I'm going to go home, eat some chocolate, and go to bed early with a good book. I'm feeling depressed. Something make me feel depressed. Something make me feel depressed. I thought her idea was absolutely fascinated or fascinating. I thought her idea was absolutely, yes, fascinating, because I'm describing the idea, not a feeling. Second group. This math problem is so confused or confusing. Can you help me? The math problem is confusing. So this means that I am confused. The teacher was really amused or amusing, so the lesson passed quickly. The teacher was really, yes, amusing. So this means that I was, as a student, or you were amused. The teacher, who is me, of course, was really amusing, and that's reality. No one can deny that. How dare you? You cannot deny this at all. So if I am the teacher is amusing, so my student will be amused by my session. The journey was exhausted or exhausting. 12 hours by bus. Exhausted or exhausting, whatever it means, that caused the feeling of feeling tired. So the journey was exhausted or exhausting? Of course the journey was exhausting, because the cause that make me exhausted. The plane began to move. The plane began to move in a rather alarming way. The plane began to move in a rather alarming way. I'm describing the way. He was frightened or frightening when he saw the spider. How was he? He was frightened. He was frightened because he is describing this feeling when he saw the spider, because the spider is frightening. The spider is frightening. Okay, that's it. I hope that you have understood the new lesson. You can revise the previous one through the same presentation, or you can go to the previous video. Kindly check your assignment or your homework to answer there is a sheet to answer, and another task you are asked to do, to prepare through the internet. You search the internet the real examples and facts or evidence, fact that you can use, and evidence to support your claim, because you are going to use adopting tomorrow in our group work. Last time you have chosen your claim and you have mentioned your reason why you chose this claim, and then you thought about the counterclaim. People are opposing you. You tried harder to mention the point of strength and the point of weakness in order to refute them. So this time we're going to gather the some examples, real life examples, whether we are going to mention numbers or you mention stories, and we need to also find evidence as real facts in order to support the claim. Remember that you have joined a group last time according to the claim that you have chosen, and you are going to continue to write about this claim till the end of the writing. Okay, anyway, all these details will be also explained again on the LMS. I took it as a chance to give you a hint about the homework of today. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, the rest of the day, and wait for me for a new session. Today you will find in the social study the new session, so please watch it. Thank you very much and see you. Bye bye.